That's why I chose black.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Tesla Show, number 94 for the 10th of April, 2019. And what a show we have for you tonight. We've got all sorts of stuff happening, as you will notice as we go through the show. But to start, we're going to say hello to Mr. Russell Frost in sunny California.
And I'm the boring screen. I mean, not that I'm not normally the boring screen, but I am definitely the boring screen tonight. So, hi, this is the only time you're going to see me during the show. Now let's introduce the interesting panelist.
And our other panelist, who is mobile tonight, Mr. Casey Green,
Good evening, everyone.
Is traveling northbound in North Carolina.
Yes.
And Casey, how are the road conditions tonight?
The roads are smooth. There's feathers everywhere. I'm following a chicken truck not too far from behind. And right now we're in Seagrove, North Carolina.
Very good, very good. So Casey's joining us mobilely this evening. As another panelist has just joined us. Speaking of someone that joins us mobilely every once in a while, Mr. Patrick Connor. And Mr. Connor's having some issues with the microphone, the sound, one or the other. He can't seem to see. Oh, he dropped off. Maybe he'll join us back in a moment. But so we've got one person that's traveling northbound, heading to. Where are you going, Casey? Where are you heading?
I'm going to Manhattan to look at the Rivian truck launch.
Wow! Look at that. Someone got an invite to the Rivian truck launch.
Yes.
They obviously don't know who you are.
Right? I am an avid connoisseur of EVs and used to be hybrids.
That is
but
true.
Now I'm one of those puritanicals. It must be EV. That's the hell of plug.
Very good. Very good.
Yes.
Well, let's get to today's stories. Let's start. Of course, at the end of last week's show, it was the beginning of the numbers being sent in for Tesla's first quarter ending of 2019. And those numbers certainly came in with about a 31% plunge in deliveries, unfortunately. So there was definitely a downtrend that was happening. Model 3 deliveries, 50,900. And the really one that pushed everything down was Model S and X deliveries of 12,100 combined. So there was a significant drop in S and X deliveries over that first quarter. Of course, Tesla has spoke about the drop, blaming it partly on its expansion into Europe and China. The delays of course, taking 3 weeks to get there by boat, and of course, trying to fire up a new operation for delivery in those countries on a scale that has not been seen before for them in those countries. Certainly, Tesla had scaling difficulties here in North America. That's what they're experiencing in China and in Europe at this time as well. So that's not a big surprise, but that was those numbers certainly were down from what we had hoped they would be. But again, the first quarter of every year is traditionally the softer sales cycle. Once you get into the second quarter, things should pick up. We will see. We shall see.
So I've got a question before we get started. On the Model 3s for Europe, are they dismantling them and putting them back together at Tilburg, or are they just rolling off the boat into the people's houses?
Excellent question. I do not know the answer to that. If there's still some assembly going on in Europe or not.
Well, there is for S and X. I don't know about Model 3.
My guess would be they're not. I don't know that for sure, but that would be the thought, is they're just rolling off the boat, because I'm following people that are getting the cars in Europe, and they seem to be getting them quite quickly after the boatloads arrive.
Right.
But That would be the only reason I would suggest that, but I don't know for sure.
Eat the tariff for now and then deal with it later.
Yeah, if anybody out there does know that for sure, please hit us up in the comments or follow us on Twitter or Facebook and send us a comment there. You can do that at the Tesla Life or the Tesla Life #1 on Facebook.
Hey, we should welcome back Patrick Connor. Hi, Patrick.
Welcome back, Patrick.
Patrick, can you talk to us?
Patrick has no audio.
No mic.
Okay.
You're a silent movie, Patrick.
Yeah, he's got the hand movements down, though.
Let's do a thought experiment with this. All right. So the numbers, everybody frames them as the numbers are down from Q3, which they are. It's true. Or Q4. It's true, objectively. But let's look back to Q1 of 2018, and they're up 110%.
Yeah.
I love that argument.
That's another way of looking at it. You're absolutely correct.
Yeah, absolutely. If we go back to Q1 of 2017, they're up 1,000,000%. Infinite growth.
Well, not 1,000,000%. This is their best Q1 ever. So, I mean, yeah, they had a drop from Q4, but it's also their best Q1 ever.
So let me present the cold, wet smack of reality here. What these numbers show is that, number one, Tesla isn't producing the numbers that they've claimed to produce. That the claim that they're going to produce this year, what they've claimed, they're already significantly off target.
Well, they're about 100,000, right? And they said 300 to 450 with a 500 run rate, right?
I'm sorry. What did Elon tweet?
Well, he said the 500 run rate.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Because he's CEO, right?
Right, but a run rate isn't 500 out the door. That's why he got a little extra in trouble for that. Because he didn't specify run rate. And then he did, and then they were already way up his
and then it's just to another one of our stories where he's sitting in front of a judge. But we'll get to that.
So I'll just say this. This seems to me like a very bad warning sign. This seems to me like all of the orders that were allegedly being held, they're done. Those orders are gone. Well, so unless there's proof somewhere, and proof would mean you're producing cars as fast as you can to get them into people's hands, right?
They still aren't producing the base model worldwide. And the Chinese Gigafactory is supposed to have a roof by May and then be running by summer. Mm-hmm. Supposedly.
Allegedly, yeah.
And the real date is production by the end of the year, because they got to get machinery in there. They got to set up the lines. It's going to be the end of the year before they're doing a production. And
once again, they're redoing the lines on the way in rather than just. They've been criticized for this now for not just taking what they have and transplanting it. They're once again redoing it all again.
Yeah,
we'll see what kind of ramp they have.
Absolutely, because it's worked so well for them in the past. So they're doing it again.
That's what the criticism is. But the good thing is they do have their lessons learned. Hopefully, they will use them.
That is the case. Yes.
Navigate Autopilot Limited. Construction detected.
Casey's giving us a play-by-play on northbound Carolina. Yeah. What road are you on, Casey? What highway?
We're on I-73 North in Asheboro, North Carolina, and Navigate Autopilot is complaining about all these construction barrels it sees.
Yeah, so keep your eyes out for Casey if you're in the area. He'll be whizzing by with his hands off the wheel.
Oh.
We just jest. Next story. And this is Casey's story. No confirmation lane change on AP has now been rolled out.
Oh, it's wiggling once we touch the wheel. And there we go. It is no confirmation lane changing around this slow diesel pickup truck.
Look at that. So the car is actually warning you it wants to pass. What warnings do you get, Casey, or what do you have activated?
Okay, so I have mine on default. So I get a beep, which you probably heard a couple of them already, and then the turn signal kicks on, and then the wheel rumbles. And if I'm touching the wheel, it does its thing. If I'm not, it sits there. And on the Model 3, you've got that blue flashy area. And on the Model S and X, you have the top that would flash. And then both of those now, it will have a scrolling animation in the direction that it wants to go if you're not holding the wheel.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good. So you've been using it now for how many days?
I've been using it for a week, however long I posted I got an update. So a week now. Yeah.
And you haven't...
on Friday, I put the video up, right? So from Thursday night.
With the use of it for a week, have you noticed anything unexpected with it?
Nothing unexpected, but
was there
like
a learning
curve?
Algorithms in neural net. Was there a learning curve? Was there something that you weren't expecting?
There wasn't a learning curve, but I wasn't expecting the new neural nets to be as good as they are. Like, it has a lot less of the phantom get into the left lane for no good reason warnings, and it's a lot nicer when I'm following somebody who thinks that the pedals are light switches, on off, so it doesn't slam on the brakes because somebody doesn't know how to drive. And it did this on the last firmware. Whenever it sees a blinker, it's super nice. It lets them in, whether I want to or not. And now it's smoother about that. So if they're trying to come in and they're just not going to make it, it'll just blow on by like I wanted to do in the first place.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you have it set on Mad Max mode this evening?
Oh, of course. Yeah. I've been on Mad Max since day one. But I do find that like during an off ramp, it wants to ride on the paint if it's going to the right. So if it's changing highways or just getting off the road, it wants to ride on the paint.
Okay.
Yeah, which it's fine most places, but in South Carolina we don't do enough road maintenance, so it I have to manually take over so it doesn't pick up a bunch of nails and screws.
Ah, I see. Yeah. Okay.
All right, can you hear me now?
Oh, Mr. Connor has joined us.
Hello. Welcome. Sorry for the technical difficulties and late arrival.
That's all right.
All right.
Mr. Connor is joining us from Oregon this evening.
Yes, nice sunny spring day. It's awesome. It's great.
It looks super sunny where you
are. Okay. Well, thanks for joining us, Patrick.
Sure.
Our next story we're going to talk a little bit about, which we've already mentioned a little bit, is that Mr. Musk had to fly to New York recently and get in front of the SEC case judge along with the SEC, and he was there, I guess, being read what the judge's decision was. It was pretty quick. He was in and out in no time, but basically the response from the judge was, you two parties have to get in the same room and go over things and come back to me with some suggestions within 2 weeks as to what we are going to do with this case. So it's almost like they're asking both parties to come up with the punishment or the corrective.
Well, they want a new agreement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they want them both to go into the room and battle it out and come back with an answer.
Yeah, they must both be in the same room for an hour, at least once, or they will stand before the judge and she will decide what's going to happen. She seems super annoyed with both parties. With the SEC, it seemed like they didn't know what they'd agreed to, and with Musk, her lawyer, or with Musk's lawyer, she seemed super annoyed at the fact that the guy wouldn't. She said he didn't have an imagination. So,
a lawyer without imagination, is that?
I suppose, but I mean, it went about the way I expected. It was way quicker than I thought it would go, and it was exactly like I said with the when we were reading the papers. It was like the SEC was way too personal. They weren't like this disembodied organization that's just enforcing the standards. They have taken this personally. Like Russell said, after he insulted them, they became real, which you don't really want to see in a government entity. And then Mr. Playboy Billionaire, he's like, oh, my free speech. And they're like, well, you signed it. And then the lawyer's like, nah, we actually signed this other one. You said okay. And so that's why it looks like the judge is super pissed off.
Yeah, this is inalienable, regardless of what you signed. But I do want to give you a shout out, Casey. That was it last week on the show. You said the judge is going to look at both parties and say you're both being unreasonable. And she pretty much did. She said, okay, go put on your big boy pants and you guys get in a room together and figure it out yourselves and learn to share your toys. And
so, or I'll do it for you.
Exactly.
I think that neither party will like what she comes up with if they have not made the attempt.
I would be interested to see what the judge would come up with on her own. That would be interesting to see. But
it will probably end up that way if their meetings don't go well.
I guess
as a
I wonder,
shareholder, that scares the crap out of me.
Yeah, I wonder what will happen. But I guess we've got about just under a week to figure out, because that'll be the 2 weeks. So they're supposed to get back to the judge within that time period. So maybe this coming next week we'll hear what happens.
Yes.
Very good. Very good. Next, we got a bit of a good news story.
That wasn't bad news, or that wasn't
great news.
That was neutral news.
I think that was good news, actually.
News. We'll find out what it was.
Well, I guess it was good, because if she had sided with the other part of the government there, it would have been terrible for the stock and everything.
Right. So it was not bad.
There we go.
It wasn't good. It wasn't bad. It was middle of the road news. But
better than it could have been.
This is good news. Texas Tesla owners put pressure on the legislation in Texas to alter the bill that is being pushed through by a Republican. Is it a senator or is it a congressional member?
Right. Yeah. I thought it was a state senator.
Yeah. Okay. About the misconception that Teslas may not be able to be serviced in Texas by Tesla. So there was a wording in bill that worried a number of people that if it was read in a certain way or I guess interpreted in a certain way, Tesla would not be able to service their own vehicles within the state of Texas. And of course, anyone with a Tesla already was extremely worried that could go through. So they did combine. We talked about this 2 weeks ago. There was a website that we publicized where people could band together and take some action. They did that. They went to the legislature and they were able to get clarification written into the bill that no, there would be no issue with Tesla being able to service their vehicles within the state. So the wording was changed and clarified so that threat was taken away. So great news for people in Texas and great ability for them to combine, get together, and take action, which is the real plus of the story, I believe.
Now, wasn't the wording changed at the last minute in the first place that caused this whole scuffle?
I don't know if it was in the last place. I don't know. I'm not sure what the timing was, but I know that there was a flip-flop back and forth. Yeah. And that really heightened the worries of many people because of the flip-flop.
Yeah, and who was doing it, and who was funded by.
Yeah, I wonder if somebody wanted to sneak that through, and it didn't get by.
Of course they did.
Well,
these Tesla people aren't high-income people like doctors and lawyers and computer technicians who are going to notice a changelog.
Yeah. It's not a disenfranchised group that they're trying to weasel over there.
They're not already jumpy and worried that this kind of things might happen to them.
Oh, but Texas is all about freedom, unless, of course, the senator doesn't like a particular company or some green initiative, and then no, it's not so much.
Exactly.
It's not quite freedom then. That's right.
Well,
That's right.
They're not free to sell the car there, so.
Right. Yeah. Why would they do that?
Yeah.
that's what I would say. That for those people that did get involved and make this change or force this pressure to change,
who doesn't? Thanks.
Like they need to work together and work on the sales side of things and see if they can take that newfound power and move it forward again, move the goal line a little bit further down the field. I don't know if they are working on that, but man, you get a group of people together, that's the time to start moving in those in a new direction, a new goal down the road.
Yeah, absolutely.
One win under their belt, why not go for something else?
Right.
Well, the problem with that is, are they still in session? Because once they close session, they're out for the next 2 years.
Yeah, a lot of state governments operate on bienniums, and they have.
Yeah, but most of them you can get them back. Texas, there's almost zero chance of getting them back, especially for this.
Yeah, at least we have this victory, and then either way, if you get this group together and you Texas for Tesla, I think it was, if they continue to grow that group, and then 2 years from now they work on the sales initiative, and you've got a large growing group that is there demanding the basic right to be able to buy a product they want in their state, which doesn't seem like they're asking for a whole lot.
No,
So that'd be great. keep going, keep building that momentum, and that's how we got here. I mean, groups like Plug-in America and the Electric Auto Association and those guys who have been saying, look, there is a demand, customers want this, there is the waiting list for these vehicles, and letting the car OEMs know that they really should be making them. So that's it's a great, people have a voice, and I'm happy they found it and it worked, and let's keep using that.
Yes. I think they'll find themselves smothered in Model 3s before they get back if they don't do anything this session. Yeah,
there's so many Model 3s being shipped now that there's going to be a growing population of EV drivers, even in Texas.
Yep, I agree. So once you get the ball rolling, keep pushing on that ball. Definitely.
Yep. Show title.
What? Push on my ball? What was the title you suggested?
Keep pushing on that ball.
I'm writing it down.
Next, we've got an interesting story that came out about the advantages of the electric semi. So Tesla, of course, is putting together an electric semi that they've pre-sold a number of these vehicles. And this article indicated the different advantages of the semi. Obviously, pollution, speed, the ability to get up to speed faster, the instant torque to be able to pull a trailer, the ability to pull on a higher grade of a road than a regular diesel truck. But what was interesting was that they had comments from a supposed German experts who basically said it's all pointless. There's no advantages in having this vehicle. It's going to be nothing but trouble. And their complete shoot down of every advantage, basically because they just feel that there's no advantage in any of it. And I don't know who this group of experts are, but it certainly sounds like they may be working for the automotive industry in Germany as well, who have, of course, really haven't embraced electrification in any way, shape, or form to this point.
Yeah, Daimler makes a lot of semi-engines, so there might be some, what's the phrase, motivated reasoning in these statements.
I do have the Cascadia, but it's like super short range, like 89, 98 miles, maybe 100 and change. And that doesn't compete at all with a 200-300 mile loaded range. And let alone the long range, whenever that one comes out, was it 500 or 600 miles? Loaded?
Right.
Yeah. So I've driven my Tesla to San Diego from Oregon a couple times, and going up Mount Shasta on I-5, there are a lot of semi-trucks going up that mountain. And it's an interstate where the speed limit is 55, 65. They have special truck lanes, and they're doing like 8 miles an hour because it's a steep incline. And there's just rows and rows of this huge long line of these trucks. And
flashers on, clouds of smoke coming out the top.
Exactly.
Away, super slow.
Yeah, getting 2 miles for 1 gallon. No, not even that. Like 2 gallons per 1 mile. You can't even. It's horrible.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there's any validity in this besides that they're trying to save their own bacon
there
before
definitely isn't.
Hits the fan.
Somebody did an analysis of their analysis, and they're not doing wheels to well. Well, they are for electricity, but they're not doing it for there. The gas just magics itself into the diesel pump.
Right. Yeah, and we've seen this over and over. But the people who said the Hummer,
the Prius is dirtier than the Hummer.
Exactly. That was the one I was going to go for too. Yeah. When they push it so far that it defies common sense, you don't even have to okay, they're obviously lying. I mean, it's just it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
When that statement first came out, Russell, about the Prius being worse than the Hummer, you must have just died laughing. That just must have been crazy to hear.
It was a fun time, and I spent no small amount of time dealing with the different organizations that were putting that one out. And there was a lot of people that they rebroadcast that whole, dust to dust survey or dust research paper, and it was clearly the car companies, the major car companies, and obviously we know where it ended up. I think the interesting thing is it's not like German engineers have a history of lying.
Right? Recently?
I hate to generalize, but German automobile engineers, not maybe the most trustworthy group on the planet right now.
Not with facts and figures.
just a couple of isolated engineers.
Yeah,
I understood it was
just a few.
Yeah, they're not all of them, but they have made it harder for the rest of them. I have more breaking news.
What's the breaking news?
You just
Don't
Falcon Heavy launch is standing down.
Oh, it's
no,
not going to happen?
I can't surf and drive. No, for the day or for the hour. Like I said, I'm driving, so I haven't seen the whole. I just saw that standing down.
Oh.
Okay. All right.
So if one of you guys wants to look in the background, I'd like to know.
At 8 p.m. Eastern this evening, and there is some delay.
Yeah, they backed it up from 6:30 to 8, and then that's all I know is it says standing down. So if anybody wants to look offline and let us know, that would be awesome. I would do it, but driving and all.
Yeah, I think you're doing enough, Casey.
Exactly. I've got the live feed going, and it still says it's in an hour and 3 minutes. So
okay,
we'll see. Yeah, they might just not have taken it down yet.
Maybe. So that was coming from them.
As we wait to hear updates on that, the next story we had is a little bit of talk about motor upgrades coming for the S and the X, electric motor upgrades. So we know that Model 3, when it was launched, came out with a different motor for the car. They felt it was more efficient. There was a number of ways that they felt it was better than what was currently being used in the S and the X. And apparently, from this insider report, that yes, definitely S and X will be looking at using the same type of motor that the Model 3 uses when the refresh does hit those two cars. And we've been talking about refresh for a long time, whether it's interior, exterior components. Certainly, the S and the X, certainly the S is getting a little bit long in the tooth for how long it's been out without a refresh. And there have been rumors about the refresh now for literally over a year. So this is something about an insider talking about how that they're looking at these new motors to make things more efficient in the S and X refresh. Whatever shape that will take, we don't know. But it's interesting to hear that certainly the motors are on the table for something to be replaced.
Yeah, and we've been talking about how they need to do this with the batteries. They need to be able to. Those cars should be their premier top of the line cars. They shouldn't have the Model 3 charging faster. So yeah,
Hey! Don't be saying stuff like that.
I'm not suggesting they slow down your car to make it.
Yeah.
Don't hold us back because we got in on the last train. Come on.
Actually, yeah, I'm going to tweet at him right now. Slow down Mark Coughlin's car, please.
Yeah, his charges way too fast.
That's right. Yeah, Casey and I are envious, and so you got to slow this Mark guy down.
I support that, oddly enough.
We're friends like you.
I just looked it up, and SpaceX has tweeted, standing down for today's Falcon Heavy launch attempt. Next opportunity is tomorrow, April 11.
Okay.
There you go.
I might be able to watch. No, I won't. I'll be driving. I won't be able to watch it.
You'll just be able to look through your roof there, Casey, and see it go off. So you'll be good. You'll be good.
Yeah. So with this, I don't see them having to refresh the car. I mean, there's been plenty of times that we've seen them just change stuff up on the line without doing very major changes to the car. So they can put them in. The question is, will it be two permanent magnets, or will it be more like the Model 3, where it's one of each? And then is it going to be with the semi-truck? They pretty much said they're slightly modified Model 3 motors, but this one says it's Model 3 technology.
Right.
So why do they need new motors? They're much lighter than a semi-truck.
Right. So is this just going to be like a slightly larger version of the Model 3 motor? So it's not a literal Model 3 motor, but that same technology, but a larger version.
Right. Whereas with the semi, they pretty much said it's probably just the gearing that's different, really.
Right, and they have enough of them in there that they don't need to.
Yeah, they do have 4 of them.
Right. Yeah, there's what
so
is
that might be
four?
why it's 2 versus 4.
4.
4 on the semi. Yeah.
So
and I have to disagree with Casey on one thing here. The SNX desperately need a refresh.
Oh, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that they can make the change without doing it.
No,
yeah,
that's what I mean. They have to make changes, and they have to be very public. They have to be very visible, big. Like this is one little tiny step of something they can do. And
yeah. I'm not saying that they should not. I'm just saying that we've seen in the past that they've made large under the hood changes without having to change anything significant about the vehicle. I'm not saying that's the right move.
They don't have to like stop all production and then roll out a brand new version of them. They can upgrade as they go, and then it doesn't even have to be an external. There could be nothing visibly different about these cars.
The only way I would say that would be the smart way to go would be if these motors are equal performance or worse performance than what they have now, because then you'd kind of want to sweep that under the rug.
Yeah, I doubt they would do anything.
Yeah, I can't see them doing a refresh and having less. I can't see that. But
Sure.
It'll be interesting to see that if they do roll out the new battery pack, if they are using the new cells, if they are using the new motors, that's going to propel the car to be above and beyond what its current range and abilities are. I think it's going to be. It's going to be win on every single dynamic that it tracks. So I'm sure that's what they're aiming for.
If it's like they're suggesting, I think we'll see a 400-mile range Model S 100D, or whatever they call the long range now.
Yeah.
Long range.
That certainly could be the case.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if they would... I mean, they could. They certainly could. But I kind of think everything will just be a little bit better, not a huge jump.
Well, it's like I've been saying. I mean, depending on how long this frame can continue to pass the safety standards, will tell you how long you'll have to recoup the investment of completely redoing the interior. Because once you have to do the new frame, you need a new interior for that car. Right. So if they're going to be close together, why not just make a special edition and ride it out another year or two, and then put that whole new vehicle in once the competition finally catches up, which they still are not doing yet, which is amazing. I mean, was it the Taycan? It keeps, or was it the e-tron? Either one of them, they keep stepping back and back from where they promised it would be.
Yeah, there was a great tweet someone had of what they promised in 2015 and then what they delivered a week ago, and how everything was worse than what they had promised.
Everything. Like all the performance numbers were lower, and all the price numbers were higher.
Right. Yeah. It's not as fast. It doesn't go as.
Yeah.
I gotta tell you, I think you guys are missing some huge marketing things here.
Well, they haven't done a commercial yet either.
You mean for Tesla to launch this new vehicle and get a lot of hype out of it?
Oh no, I'm saying there's still more stuff they could do with the S and the X. I mean, I still go places where people are, who's that? I mean, yes, they would do better by redoing it. I'm just saying I don't see. I think it's somewhere in between Elon sandbagging and the enthusiasts saying it's going to happen soon. It's going to happen soon.
Yeah, so the second half of this year is my guesstimate.
For Christmas.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Russell. You had a point.
No, I don't. I mean,
you say we're missing something. What is missing?
Look, there's no question that sales on SNX are slowing down. There's no question that SNX are the same car for the last few years. I'm not saying that in and of itself, them not changing is a bad thing, or the iterative changes that are too small to notice.
Right.
But let me just preview the car commercial that Casey just suggested. We changed a whole bunch of little things. Go out and get one now.
Yes.
Nobody wants that car.
Right.
Okay.
But the drop in SNX, don't forget they killed the affordable entry level model. I mean, they went from 70,000 to 100,000.
Right.
Like that. I know that's not the exact numbers. I'm driving. I can't look them up. But it went from the low. It was a step up from 50, but now it's approaching 100 grand.
Let's put it
the one
this
that people want. Yeah.
There's a reason that the legacy car companies that have nothing to teach Tesla go through the trouble to change their models every year. Okay?
Absolutely.
And this reason has decades and decades of proof verifying that works. Now, you can deny that it doesn't work.
Well, unless they think their car is like the 911, where you can make almost no changes and get away with it.
But even the
like
911, well,
yeah, exactly. But I mean, like you said, they constantly ignore free lessons in the marketplace that they could learn from.
Right. And I think that's my point.
But if they still are production constrained, I can see where they're coming from. Save the money now and just go all out with a whole new model.
Well, and that's certainly a good argument in that Tesla may not have the capex to change those cars. Not trying to build a factory in China, not trying to come out with a Model Y, not at some point figuring out
truck, the Roadster, the new factory.
There's many things on their plate for sure.
Yeah, and the S and the S are selling, and so doing a whole new refresh on those when you could have your capex being spent on getting new products out, your design team working on the Model Y, and all these other things that you've got on your plate, you have to prioritize.
Yeah.
But I would think the design team is.
I would like to see
they're well on to that. I would think that they are because they got
It's probably been done. It's just sitting there waiting for the sales to drop too far. And then they're like, hey, look, guys, this is what we found in a corner somewhere. Enjoy it.
we will see. It'll be interesting to watch as it moves along, as most of this stuff is. We just get to see it after the fact.
Oh, yeah.
But our next story, moving on, just a little note about Spain. The sales for plugins in Spain jumped 176% in March. And it was largely due to Model 3 and Nissan Leaf sales for strictly BEVs that pushed that number into the stratosphere for Spain in March. So again, Europe has this bent up demand for these cars, and they've been waiting. And now that the shipments are arriving, they're buying in record numbers. So, like Switzerland, like Germany, like a certain Norway and the Netherlands. All these different groups are buying in heavy into EVs.
That's awesome.
And then we saw on the sales numbers last week, Norway, Switzerland, and what was the other one? Number one for Model 3. Not just like of EVs, but like all cars. For that
and of course, those cars, those Model 3s going to the European countries are all the higher end cars, right? The long range, the all wheel drive,
and the
performance models are what are being sold there currently. So all being bought up in droves at this point, which leads us to our next story. There was a video recently about we've seen these race car videos from time to time at drag strips. But what was interesting in this one, there was a Ferrari 458, which is, for those not in the know, an over $200,000 car in a race with Model 3 Performance. And of course, the Model 3 humbled the Ferrari in the run of the quarter mile. Man, I would hate to be behind the wheel of that Ferrari, thinking about the money that I put into that car to watch one that's less than half of its cost blow its doors off. But
but an electric semi won't have enough torque to get up a hill. So
right, that's like the guy in the Thunderbird that I booked. He was super pissed to have lost to a minivan in his souped up Thunderbird. I didn't even tell him it was 7 seats. I had the last seat folded over at the time.
Way to rub it in.
Yeah.
So that video is out there if you want to see it. Next story. You may be noticing over my shoulder here that we've got a few hubcaps on the roll. I happen to be able to secure a new set of rims for my Model 3, which I'm going to use for summer rims. So now I've got my winters mounted on the other set, and I've got now summer. But what I wanted to talk about, and I'll just go grab it so you can see.
Two Model 3s? Is that why? Well, while he's out getting that, I wanted to talk about the last story where our EV volumes are going crazy. So that's a big deal because if you look at the adoption curve, you have to get over what's called the chasm, and if you don't, the technology can die. And so the good thing is that it looks like EVs are crossing the chasm, and this is not just going to be a 2% market share, and they don't go anywhere. This is going to be a big deal, which is what we've been saying for a long time on this show. So that's awesome to see. Okay, Mark, show's yours.
Okay, so I want to these two little tabs that you see on the corner here of the aero wheel cover. These two tabs are on every spoke, so there's 10 of these on the car or on the wheel cover. What I found after using wheel covers for a good amount of time through the winter was that those little plastic tabs wear into the rim. So when I took the covers off after a number of weeks, the rim now has the paint rubbed off in those 10 different spots around the rim. So I wanted to send a warning out to people that are using the wheel covers that never take them off, that beware of this. You may want to take them off and maybe put some little felt pads if you're concerned about the paint wear on the rims. Because certainly on my set of 4 rims, even with washing the car, this did happen to me. So just kind of a public service announcement for those that have the aero wheels. If you are concerned about paint being rubbed off, you may want to check yours and maybe add some felt pads to it to prevent that from happening to yours.
That's a good tip right there.
That's Venus. Is it paint or is it anodized aluminum?
What is it? Good point. I don't know what it is. I do not know what it is, to be honest.
Okay.
But I do have wear spots, which is now has removed the dark gray paint or whatever it is, and now has exposed like black beneath them.
So, yeah, I would say it's safe to assume it's paint or whatever's cheapest, based on the fact that we had vinyl on the center console.
Right.
Possibly.
So, yeah. 2 weeks ago, with the lady with the suction cup.
Yep. Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah. So Mark, you made that video of how to install the Tesla hubcap kit, and with the little suction cup to pull it back out when you need to. So we did that after watching that video, and I kept the aero covers, and I plan on using them when if we ever take that car on a long road trip. But now I'm worried that if I ever put those aero covers back on, I'm going to end up with these marks all around.
And, unfortunately, Patrick, I don't know the amount of time that's required. But when winter set in here, we really left the aeros on. We went for a long trip, and then when we got back from that trip, we just left the aeros on. So they were probably on the car for a good 3 months before the spring, where I had taken them off to, clean up the rims again, because it was getting to be nicer weather. But I'm not sure how long before those rub marks will start to appear. Yeah, but if you do have them, a couple of felt pads, around it would probably avoid that from happening.
And it's just plastic, right? You could even file them off. The tabs.
Well, you could, but I believe they're there to keep it in the groove of the rim. I think there's some sort of...
Or they become spinners.
No, they've got the big metal clips there. Yeah, those little pieces of plastic aren't doing much at all. So maybe it's not. Maybe filing it off is a bad idea.
Okay.
But show it again. Oh, Mark, did you have it right there?
Yeah, I got it here.
The metal clips are what is holding it. The big piece in there, yeah, and the little tabs are pretty insignificant looking. Other than causing this problem, I don't know.
Yeah, what they used on my Falcon doors when my.
Huh. Yeah.
Well, when my Falcon doors are rubbing, they put these little. It's the same stuff the wrap is made of. The little 3M tape on each of the contact points. That or felt. Like you said.
Yeah, so I'm going to be using mine for wall decorations from this point going forward.
Or that. Did you get the beauty kit with the lug nut covers and center cap?
Yes,
I did. Yep, I have those. I have the center cap and lug nut covers, and makes
he made
it really
a video
look
about
nice.
it, which you should go watch on our channel.
There you go. There is a video about that. But
there you go.
Next, talk a little bit about what's coming to superchargers.
Uh-oh.
How about some free Wi-Fi and a browser that, when on Wi-Fi, you can watch videos or YouTubes. So
I like it.
Elon indicated that there is going to be a change in superchargers. They're going to somehow pipe in, and we have an idea as to how they might pipe in this Wi-Fi.
Are they going to use a regular connection from the supercharger?
It might be a tie-in with SpaceX, possibly.
Oh, there you go. But they're about to launch some satellites.
Yeah, Starlink is
next month.
A long ways away. They have to do something before that.
They're going to get a lot of launches going on before they've got a coverage for that. Agreed.
What better way to stress test it than to do it internally? They've got a whole launch scheduled for next month.
So Elon had talked previously about having Netflix work on the browser at some point, and this was just a addition to that, saying that there is going to be Wi-Fi available at all superchargers during some sort of a rollout, and they will be able to access the car's browser will be able to access that Wi-Fi spot, and then the browser will allow the video and I would assume audio pulls that a normal browser can do now, which is currently blocked. Because, of course, Tesla doesn't want everyone streaming movies over their LTE and driving up the cost of cellular to the moon. So that's apparently why you can't.
Just like when you pull into Kellerman City, it pops up on the screen what the code is to get into that building. Right. So they could do the same thing when you pull into the other superchargers. It'll pop up. Here's the Wi-Fi SSID and the password, and then I don't necessarily want to use the car's screen, but I would like to be able to do stuff on my phone and actually have a fast connection while I'm sitting there waiting. So that'll be it's not available just to the vehicle would be awesome.
Yep. I look forward to that as well. On my trip to get those rims, we stopped at 2 superchargers each way, and although in 40 minutes, there's not a lot you can do. It's not like you're going to watch a movie in 40 minutes. And other, you're also preoccupied with a bathroom break or getting something to drink, and before you know it, it's time's up. So I don't feel, too pressed at all. But you're right, Patrick. Being able to grab your phone and do a quick search on something with fast speed certainly would be a plus.
Yeah,
well, it would. Well, if you stop 4 or 5 times, you could watch a movie.
Over time, right?
In pieces. I used to feel that I could get so much done during the supercharger breaks, and now it feels like the car is ready before I am. Even if I do the new charging plan where it tries to minimize my stops, it's like I wasn't done reading emails or checking Twitter or eating my burger or whatever, my veggie burger. Obviously,
this is funny. Yeah. It charges too fast. Damn it!
Well, I'm not complaining. Don't get me wrong.
I know it's funny.
So I don't know what I'll do with a movie, but I would definitely like maybe some Netflix shorts or catch up on some podcasts or whatever.
Cat videos, we know. Come on.
Everybody watches a cat video or two.
Go ahead, Russell. What was that?
I'm good. I'm good. I don't want to drag things out. So
okay, fair enough.
Or drag them down.
We're dragging them down and out.
Next, want to talk a little bit about again Europe. Tesla got the distinct win that in Switzerland in March. Not only did Tesla sell the most EVs, they outsold every passenger car, whether it's an EV or a gas car. And I believe this is the first time in history in that country. That would be the first time in many countries that Tesla has outsold the gasoline counterparts and has become the number one passenger vehicle sold in a particular given month. So again, another sign of this pent-up demand that is being filled currently. So won't spend too long on that. Next, there was a video posted by Jalopnik recently.
Or Jalopnik.
Or
Jalopnik. Nick.
Yes. Canuck or Nick.
Canuck, yeah. And Jalopnik had posted an interesting video that I suggest you go and watch, where they went to Monroe and Associates, the gentleman's company in Michigan that took apart the Model 3. They do this, of course, for a living at Monroe and Associates, and they had a tear down of a Bolt EV as well as an i3 from BMW. And the video was talking about how we had 3 different cars with, obviously some differences, some major differences. But what they concentrated on was the drivetrain, the body itself, the electronics, and how the car was put together. And it was very interesting to watch the 3 different paths taken by BMW, GM, and Tesla, and why some of those paths were taken, what they were trying to accomplish, whether or not they accomplished those goals. And it was I found it extremely educating to be able to see what these different paths were and why they were selected.
That is cool.
Yeah, I despise Jalopnik, but this video is very cool.
It was a good video. I enjoyed it. So it seems that Mr. Monroe has really, really come about on the Model 3. It's like when the first report, it was super negative, and then now like he's sitting there doing an interview and he's like extolling the virtues of the Model 3.
That's true. Yeah. He's been on that Autoline show many times now, and he's certainly changed his tune publicly to what this is. Or is he just selling copy? Is the other thing.
He's just collecting a check.
Yeah, exactly.
True, because if he says how much better,
you other manufacturers, you better get in line because this thing is incredible. And then those manufacturers,
what are they doing? Let me spend hundreds of thousands on the report.
Signing up to get those reports.
Yes.
Buy this engineering report because it's really, really worth it because they did some awesome things that you haven't even thought of. You really need this.
Yeah.
Guess
what? And he only ever gives you like 1 or 2 things. Yeah.
Are now being sold like hotcakes. Exactly. Exactly.
That's funny. But yeah, he was very negative in the beginning, and as he's learned more about the car and as they got deeper into it, his attitude about it has completely 180.
Yeah, agreed. Absolutely. Yeah. And actually, there was another report earlier in the week that we didn't that was on our Twitter feed at the Tesla Life, where they indicated that he had actually spoken with Elon, and he's given Elon about 200 points. He indicated how you can make the car better, and he spoke with Elon on the phone about this and about the engineering that was done in the Model 3. So he seems to have a genuine interest in it, and it's interesting to see that he, like you said, he's done a 180, and now he seems to be a bit of a cheering on from the sidelines. So his 200 points were said to make the car even better than what it was. So we will see.
Cool.
Yeah. If you're watching this video for the first time, we'd like you to press that like button in the bottom corner. Give us a like. That helps us out, gets us in front of other eyes. And if you haven't already, please press subscribe. Give us another subscriber. That would be very helpful, and we would appreciate it greatly.
And then ring the bell.
And ring the bell if you want to know when the show starts. It'll tell you every time. It's a great little feature.
And if you've seen the show before, also hit the like button.
That's right. Hit the like button just once, though, because if you hit it twice, it turns off.
Right.
You press it any odd number of times you'd like.
Yes.
Next, I thought this story was kind of interesting. When the Model 3 indicated they were going to have the cheaper model, the base model, come out, they indicated there would also be a standard plus, which they added some battery enhancements, some extra goodies came with the car, like the power seats and the fake leather and things of that nature. What happened recently was that on the Tesla website, you can now purchase HomeLink, which is 2 things. It's a software update as well as a piece of hardware that's required. You can now buy the HomeLink as an extra option, $300 US, I believe, and add it to your standard or standard plus car, because that HomeLink was not included in those packages.
So do they actually come out and install the module, or is it already in there and they turn it on?
There is no module. You have to get the module installed.
Okay, so
Tesla service will get with you, order the part, and then arrange for you to come in at a certain time, and then they will turn the software on, just as Casey had done there with his extra piece.
Yes, so this is the security alarm. It's already wired for it, but there's no module. So they come out and they replace your dome lights with a module that has a security alarm in it, which seems a lot like the European one to me. And I thought it was simple. The technician said it was way more tearing apart the car than he expected. But he got it in there, and now my Sentry mode is actually a level above regular Sentry mode. Like if anybody's waving their arms inside my car, the alarm will go off, and Sentry mode will get them.
Wow.
Very good.
Yeah. Or if they break the glass.
I'm wondering if there's going to be modifications to this as time goes along. For example, the web browser is not available in the standard and the standard plus.
Right.
So will that be an add-on that you can say, you know what, $200, they'll turn that on for you. So I'm wondering if there are these little bits and pieces that they've left out, trying to separate the different values in the cars. If after the point you can buy these things a la carte and add them as you require them.
I would say that the web browser would probably be like a $30 Wi-Fi only, and $9 a month to use the cellular. Probably the same for the.
You should be in marketing, Casey. You should be in marketing. That's where you belong. But so that's the first thing that's come out. HomeLink is now available. If you don't have HomeLink in that standard or the standard plus, you can now order it separately and have it added to your car after the fact. So, and we'll see and report on if more options become available over time. Yeah,
and so you just go to your Tesla account and say, I want that, and hit buy.
That's right. Yep. Cool. They make it easy. Ding your credit card, and you're money. Done. Exactly. Yes. Last story of the night. There was an invite sent out to a number of students in Nevada that they were invited out to Gigafactory 1 for a robotics program that Tesla is introducing. So an apprenticeship they're putting together about robotics was introduced to a number of students. This is kind of on par with what we had talked about previously, where Tesla had invited different college programs to train a technician apprenticeship coming up. And Gigafactory seems to be following in those steps when it comes to the robotics that are used to put the parts together and run inside the Gigafactory on the multiple lines that are there. So good to see that they're engaging the public. And certainly it's a win for Tesla too, because they can kind of groom some employees into a position to work where they currently live. So that's a plus for everybody. So good to see that they're rolling these programs out and continuing to do so.
Nice.
That's
exactly.
Cool.
Very good. So I've got no one last thing. I think we're pressing up against an hour at this point. And things are getting dark where Casey is, so we'll let him sign off first. Casey, do you have any shout outs first to this evening?
I do have shout outs. I have one more thing as well. So
Excellent.
for the last 30 miles, I was achieving 295 watt hours per mile. And you saw I was not driving very slowly. And for the entire trip, so since the last charge, I was getting 338 watt hours per mile in the Performance Model X. So pretty cool. So for shout outs, I've got a couple things coming up on the channel, some supercharger reviews, and at the Ashbro supercharger, sorry, not the Ashbro, the Burlington supercharger, there was a lady held up at gunpoint. So I want to remind everybody, to be vigilant when you're supercharging. Just keep an eye on your surroundings. It happens all the time at gas stations. But so now we're legitimate. So at our fueling stations, we also need to watch our backs.
Yeah, that's scary.
Yeah, they caught the guy.
All right.
Yeah.
And Casey, I have to say I was disappointed in your Macon, Georgia supercharger review because you didn't get involved in the parade. You had an open invitation to be added to the parade in Macon, and you turned them down.
And I should have done it with the Falcons open and everything. It would have been awesome.
He was so ready to let you in. So,
yes.
but yes, if you can find Casey at Casey Green on YouTube, please subscribe to his channel, press the bell, and also give him a thumbs up as you watch those videos.
Thank you,
Mr. Connor. Any parting words?
Yeah. So be safe out there. That's one nice thing about the Tesla having all those cameras around it. If you can, if you're outside of your car and getting stuck up, make sure you bump your car really hard so it triggers. You know it'll be recorded. That's pretty scary. So I am with the Oregon Electric Vehicle Association. You can find us at And I blog occasionally at carswithcords.net. That's it. Thanks.
My favorite car has a cord on it.
Very good. Patrick, just repeat the website again. You kind of got cut off in audio.
Oh, all right. It's oeva.org.
Perfect. Very good. Mr. Frost, any parting words for us today?
Bye-bye. Let's see. You can find us at Facebook at the Tesla Life #1. Follow us there. And of course, Twitter's the happening place. We are the Tesla Life. Thank you. I have to look to Mark because I'm trying to help, but I'm not very good at it. That's the happening place. That's where all the news goes. Definitely you want to follow us there on Twitter at the Tesla Life.
Perfect.
Otherwise, thanks to everybody watching.
And yeah, definitely for people watching in the chat room. We will certainly love your presence. If you've got any show titles, be sure to add them. We review them and we'll attach a show title as we get the different entries in. Also, we'd like to thank Lee Moon for our music that comes to us every week. Thank you so much, Mr. Moon. Appreciate it. And again, if you are watching us for the first time, do press that subscribe button. Help us out. And we will get together next week and see what's going on in the Tesla life. See you, everybody.